Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, meine Damen und Herren, señores y señoras, welcome back. I am Special Andre, and this is the Four Players Close Combat Cup tonight on this wonderful Thursday evening, or this Thursday afternoon, maybe this Friday morning already from wherever you're tuning in. I am an all-international person, so that's why I'm checking everything out. So anyway, we got two players playing against each other. It is Nerchio from Team AAA, and in the top right we have Insolence in this best of three semi-finals. So for the first game I will be using the Blizzard overlay, and for the second and the third game we'll use the GSL overlay. So we got Nerchio and Insolence playing against each other in this best of three series. We got Insolence here spawning in the top right location. We got Nerchio here spawning in the top bottom left location in this ZVP. So in the lobby before the game started, I was telling both guys I was waiting for a really good ZVP for all day, and finally I got something. And the first thing Nerchio said, it won't be a good game. Protoss is OP and imbalanced. So yeah. And I mean, he is very serious about being a funny person in that regard. It's the pure understatement by him. And meanwhile, Insolence is being a little bit aggressive here with this probe. Nerchio rearranging the injured probe a little bit more to the middle. This is how you do it. Meanwhile, the spawning pool is finishing for him. On the other hand, he's delaying the cybernetics core here by Insolence for quite a while. Gets out with a drone and delays the cybernetics core anyway. Is he going for a gas kill? Yes, he is. But Insolence was able to get the assimilator there just in time, so it is time for Nerchio maybe to run array, or I mean, drones. They don't really run, do they? Do you ever see the legs of a drone? They're just hovering, and I have no idea how those drones are doing this. Maybe they're using the same technique as the Brute Lords. I mean, even though Brute Lords might be flapping with their wings from time to time, but by far not fast enough to stay in the air. And I mean, it's clearly it's absolutely clear how those overlords will be able to fly, just because of the helium or hydrogen in them, so they will be able to hover around like an overlord. And by the way, if you ever see an overlord, those blue things here on the side, these are not the eyes. This is just something else. The overlord's face actually is here on the left side. I can't show it to you right now. Maybe I find another overlord somewhere. Where do we have more overlords? We have an overlord here. No. Damn. Yes, here it is. This at the front. This is the face of the overlord. So like you can see on the portrait here on the bottom right location, they are the eyes, and those blue colorful things, dots, are not the eyes. Just saying, to kill some time here. Meanwhile, Insolence finished with gateway number 2. We'll be finishing with gateway number 3 pretty soon. And I really like how Insolence is splitting his gateways. And because if an overlord is flying in here, sees a gateway, then he sees a gateway there, so he actually has to scout quite a lot, and of course this makes your units not so vulnerable against any banelings, etc. So by not clumping up those units, of course. So he's going for an expansion right now, putting the pylon up at the top location, not at the bottom location. But if you build a pylon here at the top side of the ramp, it is mostly just because you will not build any pylons at the bottom side, but go for high HP buildings like the Forge, like the Cybernetics Core, like the Warp Gate. Basically buildings who take up 3 squares each. compared to the pylons with just 2 squares on each side. So now Insolence is moving out. He's got 7 sentries. Of course you can make something happen with 7 sentries, but you need to be damn sure about it, and you need to watch out, because Nerchio was just having so many roaches out already, 10 to be precise. 10 roaches will just annihilate those forces, because the only damage dealers in here are the Stalker and the Zealot, and now he's trying to flank at the top, and there he will be even forcing some more force fields, and 5 force fields being placed, and he was able to kill 1 roach, 2 roaches with this, and placing another force field on the ramp. But yeah, the roaches are already out, and now the roaches will be able to force Insolence to cast even more force fields. This will allow the sentries to get out of here, but the question, of course, is at what cost? He just basically moved out, accomplishing nothing by just killing 2 roaches, and then he is depleting the energy on all of his sentries. And now more Zerglings moving out, and Nerchio able to intercept so many of those Zerglings here, and just ripping apart all those sentries. 5 sentries already going down. But there's the cannon waiting for Insolence, but this first attack was everything else but successful for Insolence. Nerchio being quite happy about it, and he was happily sacrificing a couple of Zerglings to kill sentries. This is always worth it, especially in terms of resources. Zerglings are worth, 6 Zerglings are worth 1 sentry, just in plain terms of resources. There he's moving in with more forces. This cannon is going down, Insolence going for another cannon, but the second cannon here in the back already with 6 kills. There we have the Stalkers doing even more damage. Sentry is going down as well. This other cannon is under attack. Meanwhile, Insolence is whopping in more stuff, but for the moment he is able to hold this attack. And Nerchio, beside from just building only Zerglings and Roaches right now, he's going for an expansion here at the bottom right, low ground as well. What about the cannon number 2? Just finished. There we see more sentries, not placing any force field down. There we see the force field. Cannon number 1 has been taken out. What about cannon number 2? He needs to focus on the roaches instead of the Zerglings. The cannon survives, only losing a couple of HP, so the shields will be able to regenerate there. Insolence is going for 2 more cannons. Nerchio able to snipe one single probe. Nice force field trapping 1 roach, and a roach which is on 3 kills versus a Protoss player, already worth it, at least. Even so, especially considering that all those Protoss units are so expensive, and the cheapest Protoss unit is the probe with the 50 minerals. A roach even with 2 kills is already worth it costs. So what is Nerchio doing right now after having applied quite a lot of pressure? He is droning up. He's got 6 drones in production, going for the double extractor here, an extractor, there an extractor at the natural. This base just finished. He needs to get rid of the rocks, and he's doing this exactly. Let's take a look at the units lost to see how successful this attack and the counter attack by Insolence and Nerchio actually were. And surprisingly, Nerchio, I mean, not really surprisingly, especially those cannons here were quite cost effective, but I would have expected Nerchio to be even in the lead, but he's behind 275 minerals. But meanwhile, all this stuff was happening. He was denying this further teching by Insolence, who just got finished his robo facility there. He's only going for the robotics bay. Nice job of walling off the left side with a double pylon. And the good thing about the pylon is, for those of you who might consider to wall off with another building as a Protoss player, the good thing about the pylon is you can warp units in on the left side, on the right side, and on the low ground at the same time if you want to. So, of course you can block any Zerglings or Banelings from getting in your mineral line. So an Overseer was moving in here, scouting what was going on. And Nerchio, did you see the robotics bay? I think so, and yes he did. So he knows Colossus coming up next, and the appropriate response to that, of course, is the Spire. So Zerglings, Overlords and Roaches here in production. And Insolence now got enough gateway units to move out, get rid of the rocks. Does he have the +1? Oh no, the +1 is only finished in the next 20 seconds when Immortal is out already. But the Immortal, of course, only with a range 5, will not be able to participate in taking down the rocks here. So after taking down the rocks, he is moving back and looks like he wants to go for some 2-base oriented pressuring build, adding 2 more gateways, so Insolence will be on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gates in total, so 6 gate Robo. This is a very common ZVP build here on 2 bases for a Protoss player who is playing against a Zerg. Meanwhile, so looks like Nerchio wants to go for the flank, having some Zerglings here in the back, having some Roaches in the back as well, moving over with some Roaches to the front, and so many force fields being placed, but not being too efficient about it. And Nerchio is able to snipe out a lot of units. There we see even more buildings. Insolence, force fields. Insolence got this pylon, but a good, nice job by Nerchio to focus down the pylon. But now those Roaches will go down as well. The Colossus is finally arriving there, and just imagine if Insolence would have moved out, if the Colossus would be there already, and if he would have raided. But he was moving out, so he lost a couple of gateway units, but he was defending this. But now Nerchio, being on 3 bases, just went for the mainly Zergling army, and with the +1 finished, the Colossus will be able to one-hit the Zerglings. And not just yet, because he needs the +2 attack, so it will force a cancel here on the Nexus. The pylon just finished in the last second, so Nerchio moving back, and he knows, I got this expansion up and running, even though he's only mining gas from one extractor and not from this one. He's got enough income, and let's take a look at the income in comparison here at this tug of war. We see actually, it's pretty much the same. I would have expected this to be even more in the favor of Nerchio in terms of gas and in terms of minerals, but this is currently not the case. So supplies 141 Nerchio, 121 Insolence. But because of the fact that this army of Nerchio consists mainly of Roaches, actually it does not, it's mainly Zerglings, 56 Zerglings, only 10 Roaches. The supply is even more powerful here for Nerchio. He got 13 Mutas, and now let's see how much damage he will be able to do with the Mutas. And at the same time, Insolence is moving out, so Nerchio will be forced to move back with his Mutas. So here are the forces, nice placed force fields, the Mutas sniping down the Colossus as fast as possible. A lot of Roaches get in here before the force fields were actually placed by Insolence, and it is not looking too good for Insolence. Nerchio sniping Colossus #1, and once again Insolence is moving out with his forces before a Colossus is there. Just imagine him having this second Colossus there just in time, but he's not yet given up, because he's got a third Colossus, and this is really important, he's got Nexus with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cannons, even though he should build another pylon, because only one pylon is powering those 5 cannons. So counterattack is coming up by Nerchio. Here are the Mutas, here are the Roaches, the Twilight Council there is researching the blink. There are the forces of Insolence once again. The Mutas focusing down this Colossus. Insolence is warping in more Stalkers, but it's not looking too good for him. But I think he might be able to barely hold this. No, he won't out, because this is just too many Roaches for him to handle. He's got 25 Roaches, 32 more Zerglings in production even, so he just needs to avoid those cannons or even snipe the pylon, and then he should be in a good enough position to do some damage. And now of course one cannon after another gets one-hitted here by the forces of Nerchio, who does, by the way, not have many upgrades, just the +1 armor, that's about it. Meanwhile Insolence here with a +1 armor, +1 attack, just losing more and more pylons and unpowering those units, and now the Twilight Council is not powered anymore. Meanwhile Nerchio finished with his hatchery here at the 9 o'clock, more units being rallied here to the Zelnaga watchtower, and looks like, yeah, a couple of those Stalkers get surrounded as well. After surrounding those Stalkers, he's moving here to the natural expansion because he wants to avoid the cannons, and looks like after being ahead pretty much after this first failed attack of Insolence, Nerchio will be able to take this game. So congrats Insolence. Nerchio of course taking game #1, even though he was complaining about Protoss all the time, and he is every time. I mean, it's not a day passes without Nerchio complaining about the imbalance of Protoss and Terran, and he's thinking that actually both races are imbalanced, by the way. But I think that it was not Nerchio winning the game. I think it was more Insolence losing the game just because of the fact Insolence was moving out with so many sentries without any Stalker or Zealot backup early in the game. Then he was moving out to the Xel'Naga Watchtower without having his Colossus present. Then he was moving out to this Xel'Naga Watchtower without having a second Colossus present. And his decision timing to move out was not good at any point in the game, and because of him losing so many units, he was allowing Nerchio to get up this expansion here on the low ground, who's by the way going for some infestors right now, getting up my Spine Crawler, Spore Crawler, and nice job by Nerchio, because the Spine Crawler, Spore Crawler action he is going for basically is he wants to make sure that he will not get harassed by any DTs, and now the Roach is just moving around here and taking out more and more of those cannons, more and more of those pylons, and the remaining gateway units as well. Even though Insolence, I mean, props to him, he's not giving up, he's fighting to the last second grid. Now it is too late, GGing out of the game, so congrats Nerchio, winning game number 1 here in this semi-final of tonight's Close Combat Cup number 29.